This segment is sponsored in part by Cronin Law Firm. Courageous, confident, compassionate.
Well, spring is a time of renewal, and for many, that may mean rethinking their relationships. When a marriage ends, you can often face a perfect storm of stressful events, from new living arrangements to parenting schedules, and of course, decisions about money and property. Joining us now is attorney Sabrina Shaheen Cronin, who may ease your stress with some divorce dues. It is so great to meet you, Sabrina.
Thank you so much for having me, Marisol.
Thank you for doing this with us, because I'm very open about the fact that I went through a divorce. It was acrimonious. I walked right into the cliche, but I know now that there are so many different ways. Divorce looks different for different people. But at the core of it, I believe, is respect, which you say is the first tip.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a very good point. Divorce can be acrimonious, especially when emotions are flying high. But you have to be respectful of the process. You might not necessarily respect your soon-to-be ex, but you should be respectful of not only the place he had or she had in your life for a moment, but if there's children involved, respectful of that other person's role in their lives. Be respectful of your attorney. And it just makes for a much easier transition. And you must also remember to be respectful of yourself,
right, that's right.
First and foremost.
That's right. Respect, yeah. I like starting with that, because it's, you know, as you mentioned, it's a very emotional thing for a lot of people. And
yes.
For me, I know in my own personal journey, I try to use my ability as a journalist to remove the emotion from something and look at something objectively.
Yes.
And that's, I think, easier said than done for some people. But at the core of that also is being reasonable. I think as human beings in partnerships, we want to assume that we're reasonable people.
Yes, reasonable is key. And be reasonable in your approach, be reasonable in your expectations. That is so important, especially in an acrimonious divorce.
Right.
You can take out that acrimony when you're a little more reasonable. There's only so much money to go around.
That's right.
And you're not going to get blood from a stone.
That's right.
So, because sometimes people forget that you're going to be spending so much more money arguing over something
right.
that might not be the value of what it is that you think.
Right.
So just be very careful. Make sure you know what you're fighting for.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna bring up next. Is, you know, we talk about respect. We talk about being reasonable of yourself and the other parties involved. Divorce can be really expensive. Can you walk us through a little bit of ways that maybe we can save money? We're talking about focusing on, you know, the money, because that's a biggie.
Yes.
when a marriage breaks up.
You can be proactive. Mm-hmm. That definitely helps to save money. Try to get all of the financial information prior to asking your lawyer to get it, because if your lawyer has to do subpoenas or interrogatories, a lot more discovery, that adds a lot to your legal bill. If you can get the information, if you can help your lawyer to help you, the old cliche, help me to help you,
that's right.
that will save money. And try not to keep your head in the sand. Try to take action yourself. Right. Try to get those tax returns. Try to get the information on your mortgage or utilities or any other business that the two of you may have, or if your spouse has a business. See what you can do to help your lawyer help you.
I like that idea, and it will save a lot of time and I think angst. Talk to us about what it means to be mindful in your divorce.
Well, as we said earlier, Marisol, emotions fly high. Yeah. When your emotions are at your forefront, you're not always clearly thinking. So being mindful means take a breath, be respectful, be proactive, be all the things we said, and be reasonable, but also be mindful that you need time, that this divorce is a very finite process in your life, that the healing will go on after the divorce is over. But if you say things, if you do things during the divorce process that you might regret later, try not to be so emotional or toxic. Yeah. Be mindful of not only you and what you need to self-care, but be mindful of the process. Be mindful if there's children involved.
That's right.
You always want to love your children more than you hate your soon-to-be ex.
That's right.
And your motivation and your inspiration should come from that.
And to that point, how important is it to be proactive in this process? I know you mentioned, you know, when you're talking to your attorney, be proactive. Tell your attorney, I've got this mortgage. This is how much I pay on the shared house in the Hamptons. Not that I had a house in the Hamptons, but what does that mean to be proactive?
Well, just what I said earlier, taking those steps yourself. Don't wait to be told to do something. If it's in alignment with what you want, don't let your lawyer dictate what you don't want.
Right.
Make sure you take the lead. This is your life. Attorneys sometimes have a tendency to inflame the issues because they want to be perceived as fighting really hard for you, fighting for your rights. Well, they don't necessarily always take the holistic picture. They don't look at your life holistically. They don't look at your life to say, hey, once this divorce is done, I have to deal with this guy because I have children with him.
That's right.
So you have to be the one in charge of your own destiny. Don't leave it up to your attorney. Now, that being said, you don't want to negotiate something to undermine your position. Make sure you have clear communication with your lawyer, but you have to make sure your head is not in the sand.
That's right.
You have to take responsibility.
That's right. It's your life, after all.
It's your life.
This is a joy. Thank you so much for all of this, Sabrina, for being here today. If you would like to contact Sabrina or further advice, head to croninlawfirm.com and sabrinashaheen.com. Sabrina will be back next Wednesday for Divorce Don'ts. That is certainly something you don't want to miss. Thank you so much.
Thank you.